Good day, everyone, and welcome to Home at the Hollow. My name is Glennis, and welcome to my kitchen. Today's recipe is one that I'm sharing right out of my cookbook. It is a baked apple pecan pancake surprise. It is so easy. This is one that you don't need any great skill. It freezes exceptionally well. So if you have a holiday coming up, if you have a small group coming in, or if you just want to do like a small ramekins like I do, and if you're interested in a recipe like this, or if you just want to come and hang out with me for a little while, then I hope that you keep watching. Before we get started mixing everything up and putting this together, what I've done is I've got several ramekins here. I'm going to make mine in ramekins because I'm not going to have a big brunch or breakfast. So I want to do mine individually. Of course, if you have a 9x13, that's totally good too. Just use your magic pan release, and I'll drop a link to the video below. Or if you want to spray it with a spray, that's totally fine too. But I've just got these darker ones done. I'm not really quite sure if I need these or not, but I'm going to just set these aside and get these out of the way. It's just kind of nice to go ahead and get them out of the way. I've got 2 apples here. I've got one Granny Smith and one Rome. The reason I chose Granny Smith is because it will keep its firmness even after it's baked a little bit. And I've got one Rome in here. That's what I had. Use whatever it is that you have. If you want 2 Granny Smiths or whatever it is that you have. I've got 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and I've got about 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, ground cinnamon. If you don't like that much ground cinnamon, of course, reduce it. Whatever works for you. And I'm going to just pour this all over my apples and just to give them a good stir. And just set these aside here. I've got 4 eggs. 4 eggs. I've already beat them very, very well. Got 1 cup of whole milk. I'm going to just add that to it and get this mixed up. It won't take long. Room temperature eggs, room temperature milk. I've got 1 cup of all-purpose flour. I may have to add to that. Don't know. This is one of those recipes that it's really hard to mess up. As long as you can get in there. And yeah, I think I'm going to add a little bit more flour to this. You guys excuse me. Just a wee bit more. And a little bit being maybe 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You don't need a lot. Or if you don't want to go through this step, get yourself a boxed pancake mix. I can't say how it's going to perform in the ramekins, baking off. I couldn't tell you, but give this a good stir. And I'm going to just set this aside. I've got some chopped pecans. If you don't have chopped pecans or walnuts, you don't have to have nuts at all. I've got a few raisins here. And again, that's one of those things, if that's not your thing, no worries, just don't worry about it. I have a little bit, maybe, gosh, 1/2 cup of brown sugar. You're only going to use little bits at a time. And one thing I almost forgot to do, I'm going to add about 1 teaspoon to my batter. And you probably, wherever it is, will want to mix up a little bit more granulated sugar and cinnamon. And that's for before we put them in the oven. Let's see if I can move some of this out of the way. Going to bring my ramekins back. I can make just a wee bit of room. I've got some butter, just, you know, just little slivers of butter. Add a little bit, or a lot, but I'm gonna add a little bit to the bottom of my ramekins. And of course, certainly if you're baking it in a 9 by 13 dish, that's okay too. I think that I have enough. Yeah, I have enough of everything in there. I'm going to add, and again, when I say a little bit, you know, maybe a little, half a teaspoon. Just a wee bit. Take my apples, and I can see that I'm going to have to, I think, get another an 8 by 8 pan, and maybe, because that's a lot of apples. A lot of apples. You know, I wish I could tell you. I put a goodly amount, maybe a cup, maybe a quarter of a cup of apples. Maybe. This is in, you know, in my cookbook. I should, but like I said, this is one of those that it's really kind of hard to mess up. I'm going to just, whoops, I'm going to just dole these out, divide this up. And I think that I probably have enough for my other white ramekin. I think that I'm going to go ahead and just get all of these done. So easy, and this is so delicious. And you know, when you serve it, everyone feels really super special because they have their own little dish, and you know, it's really just an incredibly delicious dish. A little bit of sugar. Got that. Let's see, who else needs a little something? So I think that looks pretty good, guys. I'm going to add a little bit of pecans to here, just a few. Adds a nice crunch. And of course the top of these will be crunchy as well, but you guys will see that soon enough. And again, if you want raisins in there, I'm not going to add raisins in there today. So I have gone ahead and scraped my bowl down and made sure everything was looking like I want it to look. And I'm going to just add this by 1/3 of cups. And this, again, I don't want to say, oh, it's 1/3 of a cup and that's it, because, you know, there's a lot of variations how many apples you will put in there. See, 1/3 of a cup is not nearly enough. Maybe 2/3 of a cup. And certainly if you're doing it in a 9 by 13 pan, you just pour this straight over all of the apples. And then bake it off. And I'm hoping I'll have enough. I may have to make some more. It's very egg rich. I think I'll have enough. Yeah, this will be fine. This will work out just perfect. This was one of those dishes, oh, I just loved to prepare ahead of time. This is one of those, you can prepare this ahead of time and you're going to come out looking like a star when these dishes come out. Now at this point, I have one that didn't make it, but that's okay. If you want to freeze these or refrigerate these until you're ready to bake them off, cover them very, very well, freeze them, and then once you are ready to bake them off and serve them, just pull them out of the freezer, sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon sugar on top, a little bit, not a lot, and then bake it in the oven. It is just that simple. It is just that easy. This batter will puff up. You will be able to see the cinnamon sugar, and serve it with some maple syrup. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bake this one off for you guys. I'm going to freeze the rest of these for when I do want them. And I hope to see you guys back. I am preheating my oven to 400 degrees. I'll bake this one just for you guys, but I will bake this one uncovered. I will start checking it at about 20 to 25 minutes. You will see the batter, of course, start to rise and the apples start to cook down a little bit. 400, 20, 25 minutes, and, you know, of course, let it go. If you need to let it go 25, 30 minutes, something like that, to make sure that your batter is done. Guys, this baked, I did have to bake this at probably maybe an extra 5 or 10 minutes, and it depends on your oven. 400, I started at 20 minutes. I think I probably let it go about 25, 30 minutes, but if I can, it's really fresh out of the oven, and I have allowed it to cool off a little bit, but I wanted you guys to have a good look. This will puff up, bake up beautifully, guys. Has that little crisp crunch of the top. You can see the apples. And there you go. You can still see the steam and the heat coming off of this. A little bit of maple syrup, just a little. Doesn't need a lot. Let's see how this tastes. An incredible, huge thumbs up. Now, when I use ramekins for this, this is exactly how I serve it. I don't try to you know, loosen this up and plop it on a plate, because it's just not going to look like this. And that's how I served it at the end, was in ramekins just like this. And that's how I froze it. So I hope that you guys, if you are enjoying the channel, if you've just happened upon me, I hope that you give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and drop me a comment below. Page 222 of Simply Homemade, Home at the Hollow. Delicious, sure to please everyone, and, you know, easy to say, oh, I don't want pecans. You don't have to have pecans. Adjust it according to your taste. But I hope that you guys join me here, right here, home at the Hollow. Goodbye.